Hi everybody, welcome to my absolute beginner's guide to Sons of the Forest. Just remember that as I'm recording this video, the game has just dropped into early access on PC a few days ago. So if you're watching this sort of in the latter parts of 2023 when the game's dropping on console and it's gone into full access on PC, there might be a few different things to work at. The other thing is that I'm approaching this really as a single player, not as a multiplayer going on with friends, and it's also for real newbies. So if you're absolutely new to Sons of the Forest or you're really struggling for it, these 10 hints and tips should really help you out. So the first thing I'd say is when you're playing single player and you create a new game, what you want to do, play on peaceful mode or custom. So in peaceful mode, what happens is there's no enemies, there's no NPCs running around trying to kill you. You won't get eaten by cannibals or anything like that. Now there are still dangers in the environment. You've still got things like sharks, and there's still some monsters in caves, but they're not aggressively coming after you. Well, apart from the shark, that is, they'll try and get you. And there's obviously all the environmental challenges that you will have. Also, if you think, well, maybe that is just a little bit too easy, if you go into custom, you can actually change everything about the gameplay. So you could have enemies, but you could make sure they've all got low health and low damage and low armor, so when you do come into those situations where you have to fight them, you can kill them pretty easily, and that will really help you to learn combat. You can change the season length so you don't get stuck in summer too often. You could make sure that it doesn't rain or snow very often. You can turn off hydration and starvation damage, so you can really customize this game while you're learning to do it. And then once you're actually in, you can then go to the normal or the hard version, or when you're playing with friends, and you'll really have down the mechanics of making weapons, building structures, fighting enemies, fighting the gear getting the gear you need to actually complete the game. Okay, so the helicopter is crashed and our mission to find our billionaire boss and his family has just begun, but the most important thing is to survive. So make sure you go around the crash site and pick up everything you can, and this fellow here, Kelvin, is probably the most important aspect of your early game survival in this game, because he is a godsend. You can make him go off and do menial tasks, he'll find food for you, and he'll do things like complete structures, he'll gather you wood, he'll gather you other resources. Now he won't get involved in fighting, but he is very, very important indeed. Also, the other character that comes along, Virginia, the weird lady with the 3 legs and the 3 arms, don't attack her. She'll gradually come up to you and then run away, and then come back to you, then run away. And eventually, as long as you don't do anything nasty, she'll start bringing you things. So she'll bring you food, she'll bring you rocks, she'll bring you wood, and that sort of stuff. So here we are. So as you can see, we've got Kelvin. So what we can say to him is we can say, go and get me some fish and give them to me. Now he'll wander off and he'll find us some fish, and Kelvin is incredibly good at getting fish if you're near some water, and before you know it, you'll have a whole pile of resources to eat and get you going, so you don't have to worry about chasing your health all of the time. So let's take a look at the HUD in Sons of the Forest and how you save the game, because you should save it very, very regularly, otherwise you're going to end up losing lots of progress. So the HUD first. If you look in the bottom right of the screen, you'll see we've got the mini-map in the middle and those icons around the edge. The first one, the muscly arm, that's how much strength you've got. Now as you do things in Sons of the Forest, as you wander around, sprint around, cut trees down, build things, all that sort of stuff, you will actually get stronger, so it becomes easier to do those things as it goes on. So that's a reason for keeping your character alive. Then we've got hydration, so you've got a drink. So as you can see here, we could go into this pond and we could have a drink, or if we had like a water bottle, we could drink out of that, or we'd found some cans, we could drink those. Then we've got food, that's the drumstick. Again, you've got to eat. Remember Kelvin, great resource, tell him to go and get you some fish. He'll do that. You can, at the moment in the game, you can eat them raw. Not sure whether you'll be able to when it goes to full release, or there's lots and lots of things that you can find in the game that you can eat to replenish that. Then we have sleep, which is the moon. So your character will need to sleep, and we can sleep in a tent, which I'm going to show you how to build in a minute, or if you've found one of the already made up tents that are around the map, or you may well have made a bed or something like that. Now if you do run out of sleep, for want of a better word, and you're in something like a cave and you don't want to save the game, you want to keep going, take an energy drink, because energy drinks will give you energy and you'll be able to keep on going. Now the icon that you can't see on there at the moment is sometimes one with a little eye will pop up. That's when an enemy is seeing you and has started to track you, so be very aware of that. Also things like environmental hazard enemies, so like the shark. If there's a shark looking at you, you'll get that up. Now if we look around the circle on the right, we have our endurance. So as you're running around, if I jump up and down, you see it start to go down, and then as I stop it builds up again, but it's not a full bar, that blue bar, and that's because if you look you can see I really need to have a drink, and I really need to eat some food, and I really need to have some sleep. But if I drink, you should see my endurance goes up a little bit. So if you want to have maximum endurance so that you can run and you can fight faster, you need to make sure you've eaten enough, drunk enough, and had enough sleep. On the left, the red bar, that's my health. So as I take damage from getting into fights, or I'm starving to death, or I'm too thirsty, my health will go down. That will recover over time if you're well hydrated and have eaten, or you can take meds and that will make that go up. And finally, on the left hand side, you'll see we have those yellow and orange bars, and that is actually my armour that I've made. So at some point you'll learn how to craft leaf armour and bone armour, and this again will protect you in dangerous situations when you're getting into fights or you're getting hit by other people. That does take damage though, and does just disappear, so you do have to top it up. Now let's talk about saving the game. It's very, very easy. All you've got to do is go into your backpack, go up to the top right hand corner, grab yourself a tarp, and you'll see the dotted white line. That means we can put it down. Then go into our inventory again, go down to sticks, equip a stick. Now what you're looking for is the arrow, the white arrow that's pointing up, not like the little dots that tell you how to start a fire. We want to have those ones there. As long as we can see that, we can then put that underneath there, and we've got a simple tarp tent which we can now sleep and we can save. Remember, before you do anything dangerous, before you go out on an adventure, before you go scavenging, save the game, because all sorts of things can happen in Sons of the Forest, especially when you're not playing on the peaceful mode. You can run into some cannibals and they can kill you very, very quickly indeed. Now when you're finished with your tarp, what you can do is, I'm using a controller here, so if I press and hold X, I can take the tarp down and put the bits back in my backpack. I'm ready to go again. Hi everybody, now let's take a look at accessing your inventory. And remember, I'm using controller in this video as well. So basically, if we press left on our D-pad, that will bring up our light source. And then if we press right on our D-pad, that will bring up our GPS. And press it again to get rid of it. If you press down on your D-pad, you go into your full inventory. If you press up on your D-pad, that will then bring up your crafting and building options. Also, if you press and hold down on your D-pad, but hold it down, you bring up your quick access, so you can quickly access stuff without having to go into your full inventory. So how do you edit that sort of stuff? All you do is go into your inventory, go up to where your backpack is, which is up here. Press right trigger to put it in the middle, and now what we can do is we can just scroll over the top of our things and then add stuff. So let's add a spear, and what it will do is it will swap something for something else. So you think, well, I don't really need aloe vera, so let's get rid of that. Let's add can we add our, well, let's see, if we put our axe on, that's probably going to get rid of the shotgun. Yeah, so let's get rid of the shotgun. So sometimes it can be a bit fiddly trying to figure out, what stuff replaces. So what about if we put the shovel on, so the shovel just replaced the something else, didn't it? So now we've got the shovel, we've got the axe, we've got the mask for scaring cannibals, we've got some painkillers, and we've got an energy drink. So now when I come out of there, if I just press and hold down on the D-pad, we can quickly choose which one of these we want to equip. It's worth playing around with that. One final thing I'll say as well is, when you're in the inventory, do scroll all the way around, because you'd be surprised at what stuff you pick up that you didn't know you had because you never saw it. So a good example would be down here in the bottom right hand corner is the different clothes. You'd be surprised, sometimes you'll pick up clothes and you'll be like, oh, I didn't know I had that wetsuit, you know. Or you'll come over into these boxes and you'll think, oh, wait a minute, have I really got all those grenades? Have I really picked up all that stuff? Because the field of view without a mod is quite restricted in your inventory. Okay, there we go. Well, it started to rain at our little camp, but I just wanted to tell you a little bit about making your first weapons in some of the forest. So you probably want something like a spear to start off with. These are very easy to use and quite effective. So you can kind of poke people with it, or you can aim it and you can throw it. But especially if you get the people in the heads, then that would be very, very good. So very easy to build. All you need to make sure you've got are a couple of sticks. You'll want some of the duct tape, and you'll have your knife. And all you do is you put a couple of sticks in the middle of your inventory, and then you want a piece of tape, and you want to combine it with the knife. Press the little gears icon. Before you know it, you've got knife. You've got a nice sharp spear. You can then stick enemies with, animals, go hunting, that sort of stuff. The other early weapon you probably want to make is the bow, which I've got here, which is very good. So you can shoot people with it. It's actually quite hard to hit animals and things because there's no, as far as I can see, I don't think there's a central point. So it's difficult to figure out when you're aiming at things whether you're actually gonna hit them or not. Now we can pick the arrows up. In fact, you want to pick the arrows up because you will find arrows as you go around different places. But there's carbon arrows, there's different types, and there's ones we can make. So to make the bow, what you need, if I remember correctly, is a couple of sticks, some duct tape, and some rope. Now, unfortunately, I can't make another one here because I've already made the crafted bow. But looking at it, I think it's 2 sticks, duct tape, and rope. Might be wire, but you'll have these things fairly early on. And then if you want to make some arrows, what you'll want is you want some couple of sticks, or 1 stick. You want some feathers. I think 4 feathers. Let's have a look. Oh, we've got enough feathers. Sorry, 2 feathers, and then we want some stones. There we go. And then we just combine those. And I think this, that gives us 4 more arrows, which is pretty cool. Now, as you're going around though, playing the game, you will get more effective weapons. You'll find things like the pistol, and you'll find things like the shotgun. You can use your axe as a weapon, all sorts of stuff. You can make skull sticks, all sorts of stuff, and you'll be fighting enemies in all sorts of different ways. Okay, so we're at my little humble camp. Kelvin's having a rest. We've got some body parts rendering down on the fire. So let's look at crafting now, because there's several different ways to craft things in Sons of the Forest. The most basic way, say, for making a fire is when you craft things by placing them on the ground. So if, for example, we go into our inventory and we equip a stick, like so, and then we just look at the ground, you should just be able to see in the centre of the screen. In fact, let's do it here. 2 little sort of outlines of sticks with white dots. So if we just press right trigger, remember I'm playing this on controller, we're making a basic fire. Then we do it again, and then you could light it now, but you're better off just come back a little bit, go back into inventory and equip a stone. And then if you look down, you can place the stones around the fire. And this creates a reinforced fire that's more likely to stay burning. And then we press and hold A, and that is now going to light the fire. So you can make stuff by putting them on the ground, like so. Now we've already discussed crafting things in the inventory, where you place things into the middle of the sorry, you place things into the middle of your backpack, like so, and like, what else do we need? Let's have a look. Crafted spear. And then we put that in there as well, and then you can craft things. Now, this is early access of the game, so I'm not quite sure how this is going to carry on going, but basically normally as you find different things you'll get different recipes appear here, but not all of them appear. So just because you've got all of the things to make a certain to craft a certain thing doesn't mean you'll find it here. So you may well have to know what they are, kind of remember what they are, but again, as time goes on this will probably change. Now for building things, there's two main ways, but what you want to do is you want to look at your field guide. So there's two modes to the field guide, the left mode and the right mode. Now the left mode is probably the one you'll use to start off with a lot more. Now these are more like blueprints, so what you do is you'll select one of these, you place it down, and then you add the resources to the blueprint to make it, or you can ask Kelvin to do so. So for example, if you want to make this drying rack for food, we could put it kind of here by this fire, like so. And now, see, the blueprint is there, but it's not actually built. If you look in the middle of the screen, you can just be able to see an icon for sticks, and it says A. So if I keep hitting A, we've now got a drying rack that we can put food on to dry it out. Similarly, the other thing I could do is, if we bring it up again, and we can say, actually, we want to make a mannequin. Now this is going to take 20 sticks and 5 bits of duct tape, which I'll tell you, we won't make that because that's boring. Let's have a look through. Shelf, war shelf, rock path, stick path, birdhouse, scarecrow, standing planter, wall planter, small animal trap. Let's make a standing planter. So there's the there's the blueprint for it. So where are we going to put it? Let's put it over here by our lean-to. So we could kind of put this here. Like this, rotate it a little bit. So that's now there. Now what I could do, I could say go up to Kelvin. So, ooh, Kelvin, my man. I could say, ooh, let's do this correctly. Build, and I can say finish structure. There we go. So what he's going to do, he's going to go off now and find some sticks, and he's going to finish this. Now, with more complicated structures that might need other things that you've got in your inventory, you're going to have to help him out to do that sort of stuff. He won't be able to add things like duct tape and stuff. Well, normally he won't anyway. Now, the other side of the crafting, the field manual, is this side. Now, this side is more of a book of recipes rather than blueprints. So as we look through it, you'll see it kind of tells you how to make a tent, how to make a basic fire, how to make a reinforced fire, how to make a torch that's standing up, a skull lamp, all these different things that you can make. And this is the important one. So this is when we get to floors. So this is where you're going to make custom structures. So instead of what you see on the screen now, which is a kind of a blueprint for a small log cabin, this is showing you that's how you can make a floor. This is how you can make a fence. That's how you make a wall. And to do with these, you simply place items down next to each other and it will automatically do them for you. The catch with these though is that your mate Kelvin isn't going to be able to finish this sort of thing off because he won't know what you're building because you've got to do it yourself. Obviously, if you're playing multiplayer with your mates, you're going to be able to tell what's going on, and you're going to be able to do it together. So as we can see, Kelvin's done a great job. He hasn't quite finished yet. He's going to have to find some more sticks, and he's going to put them into there. As a quick bonus bit to this tip, actually, these various places that are around the map that you find that have got tents in them and all sorts of different things that have these boxes and canisters around and things like the boom box, they replenish themselves, so they can be very useful for coming back to. So at this particular site where I am now, you go for it, Kel. Ooh, don't set yourself on they give you extra stuff. So if I equip my axe now as well, I can smash up this boombox and get a printed circuit board. There we go. Now, getting around in Sons of the Forest can be a little bit complicated, especially when you're trying to find something. So one of the things you may want to do is use this online map. I'll put a link in the description below this video, because one of the things you may want to get access to fairly early on is the 3D printer, which is located here. Now with this online map, it's very easy to use. What you can do is when you first go here, it will show you everything, and you can click on hide all, and then you can scroll down. You could put the caves on there because you'll see them in your GPS. Then scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, and then we can look for the 3D printer. There we go. So there's the 3D printer. Now it's in some other locations as well, apparently. Now the 3D printer is very useful because it allows you to print a water bottle so that you can fill that up. So when you're going on longer adventures, you don't have to worry about getting dehydrated so quick and burning through things like your energy drinks. And it also allows you to make arrows, a mask that helps you to scare off cannibals, and also some other funky and cool stuff as well. And I'll talk about in the next couple of tips about the objectives that you may want to achieve in Sons of the Forest, and this map shows you where they are. Just remember again, we are in early access, so many of these things will change as the game progresses, especially as it goes to full release. Now, when you're new to Sons of the Forest, you probably think, oh, it's going to be like this all the time. Might rain a little bit, but look how sunny and beautiful it is. Trust me, winter is coming, and when winter comes, food can be much more difficult to get hold of. So one of the things you want to consider is this, and that is creating drying racks so that you can turn food and meat into dried food and meat, which, as far as I'm aware, at the moment anyway, in early access, doesn't rot in the way that normal stuff does. So I've got Kelvin over here. He's gathering me some fish that we'll be able to use. Here we go. So he's getting a nice little pile of fish. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to craft a drying rack. So let me get some sticks first from my stick collection here, and let's go over here and let's bring up our craft book, and let's bring up let's have a look. Birdhouse, go up past shelf, drying rack. So let's build one of these. So let's put it there, put the sticks into it. There we go. And next thing we're going to do now is we're going to put a fire underneath it. Now, some people are saying you don't need to have fires underneath them. I'm not sure. But before we light it, we're going to go into our inventory again, and we're going to put some stones around the fire. I've only got 3. Okay, let's go and pick up some more stones. Big stones we want. They're normally all over the place, aren't they? That should be enough. There we go. So now we're going to light it with our lighter. That's good to go. And what we can do now is we can go. Now I could bash that turtle apart and get his meat. We're not going to. So you're not going to eat it like I have. You're going to pick it up. Yeah. Cheers, Kelvin. That's good. Don't set yourself on fire. Let's just pick up a load of fish. We're going to go over to the drying rack. I'm going to press and hold A. It's going to open up our inventory, and we're going to put our fishies on here. Get another one. There we go. So it's going to take, I think it takes about a day for these to dry, and then they end up looking like this kind of thing. And we've got some meat drying as well, and I would have several of these racks going to get you through the winter, because the other good thing about them is that they're a great way to store food as well, because again, at the moment in early access anyway, it doesn't appear that the food rots at all while it's here, so you can just leave stuff on the rack ready for when you need it. Obviously if you're in a base where there's going to be cannibals around, then they may well come and steal it. And this way, when you want to go off on an adventure, when you want to go and survive the winter, you can just take a load of dried fish with you. You can eat the fish first to get your food levels all the way up to the top, and be on your way without having to constantly worry about, have I got enough food? Have I got enough of that? And then if you do get low, just find a body of water, get Kelvin to make you some fish, to get you some fish, and obviously you could just eat it. Right, let me just have a word with him now, because he's done a great job. There we go. Take a break, mate. You relax for a bit, because you are a top companion, and I do appreciate it very, very, very much. You want to sit with me? Maybe? Over there? Ooh, sitting in the fire. Now, it's all nice and lovely here at the camp, but at some point I'm going to want to go and do my adventures and go into the caves. Now, when you're playing peaceful mode, it's very easy to kind of be lulled into a false sense of security where you don't really need to worry about getting geared up that much, because the only dangerous things are starving to death, dying of dehydration. In fact, the game looks after you as far as that goes as well. Probably getting attacked by a shark sometimes, but as there's no cannibals and mutants around, you may not think about those sort of things. But when you're playing in normal mode, when you go into the caves, there will be lots of enemies that you're going to have to take on, so you need to get geared up. So what do I mean by that? Well, you want to have made sure you've got plenty of crafted spears to throw at enemies and poke them with. You'll want to have made sure you've made the bow. You'll want to have plenty of arrows as well, so you're ready to fire them at will. If you've found things like the guns and the shotgun, happy days, but it's probably a little bit early for that. And you'll want to have equipped yourself with armour. So if you look in the bottom right of the screen, you can see my mini-map, and then to the left of that there's the yellow and orange segment. That's armour, so you want to have put armour on so that you don't take damage straight away, and make sure you also have some meds so you can recover your health straight away. So to make armour, you can make it out of leaves, and in fact let me show you how to. So to get leaves, let me quickly show you how to do that. So you can just wander around with your axe, and then if you just go through plants, you see we start collecting leaves. Like so. And then we can make leaf armour, but you probably also want bone armour. Now bone armour is a bit stronger, and with bone armour you can get this from if you kill people and you kill animals, you can throw the bodies onto a fire or add them to a fire, and they will render down to give you bones. In fact, I think it's really just from people you get the bones from. So what we can do is if we go into our inventory and we put a load of bones in the middle, that's it, and then we add tape, I think. Oh, right, so we want tape and we want rope. Like so, and now we can make bone armor. So if you look in the bottom right hand corner, you'll see I've got 3 empty segments on my armor. But once I've done that, and then I equip it, we will have gone up. Oh, we didn't go. Oh, there it is. Where? Alright, I had to take some of that off. Okay, so what that was telling me is that I've got enough armour on, and I probably need to make a helmet. Tech armour I think is better than bone armour, so we'll keep this bone armour in reserve, ready for when our armour gets damaged when we get attacked by an enemy. And then just make sure before you go into the cave, or you go into the dangerous situation, make sure you had a lot to drink, make sure you had a lot of food, make sure you had a good night's sleep, so you can have plenty of stamina for fighting and running away, and make sure you save before you go into the altercation, so that if it all goes wrong, you can just roll back the save and you won't have lost a load of progress. So to finish off this beginner's hints and tips video, I guess we should really talk about what are you meant to be doing in Sons of the Forest. We've already had a look at the map, which is really good at telling you where things are, but you might be thinking, well, where do these things fit in with the story? Because Sons of the Forest isn't just a survival game, for example, like DayZ, where the aim is to survive, where there's no kind of winning environment. There is a storyline that you can follow in Sons of the Forest. There's also lots of stuff that are in it that you wouldn't probably be able to find unless you knew they were there. And so that's why I'm kind of saying, especially with the game in early access, think about reading through some of these guides that are available. And I'll put a link to this Games Radar one down in the description below this video, because, okay, there are spoilers in these guides, but the idea with these is that you'll see, oh, okay, I can see that this is how I get a key pass, and if I get a key pass, this is what I then can do. This is how I can see I can get gold armor. This is how I can get different types of armor. This is how I can work my way through the story. This is how it finishes, all this sort of stuff. So definitely consider reading these guides, going through them, because honestly, they'll let you get more out of the game, because you'll start to understand what is possible in the game. And there's a lot more things to do in this game than would first be apparent at first sight. So don't poo-poo the guides, jump in, have a read, and then really enjoy Sons of the Forest, because it is an absolutely amazing game, a whole lot of fun to play even by yourself, and hopefully this video has been useful. So if it has been, hit the like button. If you want to see more of the same, press subscribe, and I will of course see you again soon.